let's talk...
Talking of presents.
Well, certainly. Nottingham Forest perhaps were a little too easy for Arsenal as they... Should we say gifted them 3 points? Maybe not, because Arsenal certainly were brilliant. And
yeah, they deserved it.
Yeah.
Best they've played. Best they've played for a long time.
They got their title challenge back on track, perhaps, securing a first win in 5 Premier League matches. Bukayo Saka gave them the lead after 15 minutes, slamming a strike into the top corner. Thomas Partey, who came on as a half-time substitute, doubled the host's lead when he curled him from 20 yards before the youngster, Ethan Nwaneri, added a third late on to secure the win. The match was Arteta's 250th in charge of Arsenal in all competitions, and he will hope this victory sparks a run of form that will help his side close the gap on their rivals at the top. After the recent struggles, the Gunners' boss then Arteta was delighted with his side's performance and praised their all-round work ethic.
I think the start is the level of performance, and when we haven't won football matches in the last few weeks, it's not because we haven't deserved it, it's not because the opponent was better, but these are the margins, and there is something, and sometimes it's the energy, something that is missing that makes you win. And I was really upset not to win against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, because I love especially how the team played in the last 25 minutes, and today we took it from the first minute and we fully deserved to win the game.
So you were at this game, as I've already mentioned, in part because of your Times column. And you're now, this season, making a point of going out and about and making sure you're seeing games live to specifically pinpoint certain things you want to talk about. So from your column, what can we expect?
Well, I went with the idea of the importance of one player, because Arsenal fans, and I talked about this yesterday, about, Odegaard needs to be back. Hey, Odegaard, it's all about Odegaard, and that's what they're really missing. And I'm never quite convinced. And I went there with the idea, well, yeah, of course the big players are very important to a team. They make a difference. Came away thinking, maybe I was wrong there, because from the moment the game started, Odegaard was just so vital. He made Saka shine. He gave him the ball early all the time. He sits on his shoulder. And it was just, he finds space. I mean, Nuno in the press conference afterwards said Arsenal kept finding space. And the person who kept finding it was Ødegaard. And from there, everything opened up. And even for Thomas Partey's goal, he doesn't even touch the ball. He makes a run into the 18-yard box and creates space for Thomas Partey to score. And he was just by his running ability.
So just constantly effective.
Oh, absolutely, Nat. And it was a joy to watch. He's so gifted. His technical ability is extraordinary. His left foot is a wand. He actually talks a lot in the game as well. You can see him, and as Arteta was giving him instructions, he's his captain. Just watching him play and the effect that he had on Arsenal yesterday was no coincidence that they won comfortably. And Forest didn't play their best, but Dominguez, who was sort of inside him, didn't know whether to stick or twist with Ødegaard, because he kept moving. He kept going from wide position to central position. Then, if he had to sit deep and get the ball to feet, every time he got it, things changed really, really quickly.
It was a game on paper that perhaps looked tricky because of the start Forest had made, but it certainly was easy by the end for Arsenal. Did this look like a performance of last season, like the good old Arsenal that we've seen of late from Arteta?
Well, if they don't have Ødegaard, they don't make Champions League football, in my opinion.
So he's vital.
He's that vital to them. Now, with him in the team, they can make it, and they have very good players as well. There's many. I mean, look, Saliba's a terrific footballer. His partnership with Gabriel was exceptional. Then you look at Saka on the right. Absolutely, no issue there. They've got great players within their team. Really, and Declan Rice. they can make things happen. But without Ødegaard, he brings the team up to a new level. And I asked about the chemistry between him and Saka, because it's evident. You watch them live now.
So you asked Arteta a question?
Yeah, I went into the press conference and I said to Mikel, I said to him about the chemistry that they have together. And he said that chemistry, sometimes you meet someone, straight away you make eye contact and something flows. When you put them together in the right spaces, they flourish and things happen naturally. And that's exactly what was happening yesterday. With Saka and Ødegaard, because Saka will get goals, but he also is getting the ball very early for him to really have a go at the fullback every time. And they need him. If they're going to make like I said, I went there with the idea of thinking, look, Steven Gerrard was vital to Liverpool. You know, you could argue that if there was one man in the team, I can remember Cantona for 2 years at Manchester United, where he was absolutely instrumental for Man United to be winning things, and you know, he was that player. And I actually came away thinking, do you know what? He's just as vital as them great players I've mentioned. And there's others out there you could think of how important they are to a club, Nat. And he is to Arsenal.
Mikel Arteta made some surprise choices for his first 11. There was no Declan Rice, no Martinelli, no Havertz.
Yeah.
Perhaps looking ahead to the fact they've got Champions League action as well to come in the week. But what was I going to ask you about? Totally forgotten. Did it look like this was an 11 that could go forward, or those three players that dropped out, for example? Are you expecting that they'll come back into the fold for further Premier League matches?
Yeah, they'll be back in. I mean, Jorginho came in at midfield, done okay, got substituted purely because he was going to get red carded. And look, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later, how easy it is to get red carded in the modern game, which is quite scandalous to me. It's getting silly. But Mikel Arteta knew that he got away with one challenge, Jorginho, and it was that close to thinking, is he going to go? And straight away, Arteta pulled him off.
Yeah, which is good management.
Yeah.
You've got to be able to see that could happen.
Managers are having to think like that with the modern game now, Nat. They're actually thinking, he's on a yellow. It's not a case of, just keep going, be careful. It's a case of, you only have to make a soft challenge and you can be red carded.
Obviously, as we mentioned, Forest came into this in good form in the sense that they were... Where were they? They were fifth in the table before those results from yesterday. They were level on points with Arsenal actually coming into that game as well. They didn't have a single shot on target.
No, disappointing.
I was going to say, how much of a disappointment will that be? And also the fact that prior to even their last game beforehand, which was that Newcastle defeat, they had one of the best defences in the league. And
Nuno spoke about that. They conceded 6 in 2.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think he's also alluded to how worried he is about the fact that they have conceded 6. Yeah. Where did it all go wrong for them?
Well, they didn't really offer a threat. Awoniyi came in for Chris Wood because he was on international duty with New Zealand, so he decided to make a change. Hudson-Odoi and Elanga never really got going, but they were continually having to battle against Ødegaard in midfield, who kept getting the ball. For 70 minutes, he was literally pulling all the strings, and they just couldn't get near enough and stop Arsenal, and couldn't break. One thing Forest do really well is break quickly, but they couldn't do that very often. Anya did it a couple of times, but not enough. It was a hard afternoon for Forest and their fans.
And I just want to say the last word for Ethan Nwaneri, scoring his first Premier League goal. There's a lot of talk about him within Arsenal, about the excitement about him.
Yeah.
How exciting does he look as a player?
Yeah, well, he's a difference maker. You can see it straight away. He wants to attack players. He wants to try and go past them like he did for the goal. Great finish. He excites, and he's going to be there. And Arteta spoke about that in the press conference where he said, it's all about here and now and just the road, the path of developing him to make him become, everything's in place for him at Arsenal to go, this is where you go. This is how we get there. You have to do these things to become a better footballer. Not just, he's got everything technically. It's about growing as a footballer. And I think that's in place for the modern day footballer, far more than it was for the players of my year. It's different. And he's got everything there. As long as he stays on the right road, no problem at all. You can see he's got bundles of ability and pace. So.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.